the small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
What the fuck?
Do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Jasper Gonzo here. Another What's Next. The hot story. Well, actually, there are several, but one of them that's standing out that's getting some big-time play across the media spectrum is Canada right now. And I know a lot of people are in America, a lot of people tend to think of Canada as an afterthought. Of course, the younger brother of the United States. But of course, one of the biggest differences between Canada and the United States is that the United States has a constitution to protect its liberties and freedoms. Canada does not. Canada has had a history of going after conservatives, after going after libertarians, after going after Christians. There is a law that any Christian church who speaks, quote, ill will regarding homosexuality, that homosexuality is a sin based on biblical teachings, you could end up possibly losing your church, getting fined, and possible jail time. That's on the Canadian books. That's on the Canadian law books. But we're going to talk about vaccines. Yes, those wonderful vaccines with those wonderful efficacy rates. Canada has gone one step further. You got Joe DiMaggio running around with his vax mandates, which of course was struck down by the Supreme Court based on political reasons, not because it was the right thing to do. John Roberts. You have the Canadian Prime Minister Justine Trudeau. Yes, Justin Trudeau, that clown, literally dressed in blackface, and thought it was okay. He has been an abysmal prime minister for the country of Canada. Instituting pronouns, protecting illegal immigrants, kind of reminiscent of someone. But you have Canadian truckers. You have Canadian truckers who have now been given vaccine passports or vaccine badges to travel throughout the country. And of course, if you are not vaxxed, you must show us your papers, or you cannot conduct your business. Over the last week or so, you've had basically a boycott of truckers in Canada. American truckers have joined in as well, rightly so, because this is about liberties and freedoms and not for some draconian ass backwards mandates by an ass clown as prime minister. Now, I set all this up for this. This comes out of LifeSite News. Trudeau's government reinstates vaccine mandate for truckers, Canadian truckers, less than 24 hours after repealing it. Now, this story is from the 14th, and of course, I will update. The decision to go ahead with the mandate comes despite trade associations with both American and Canadian side border warning that the policy could severely impact the already strained supply chain. Yes, remember those? Spurred on by the COOF. This story by Jack Bingham. Ottawa. Prime Minister Justine Trudeau's government has reinstated the requirement that all truckers crossing the border must be fully vaxxed against the COOF. The federal Liberal government announced late Thursday that it is going to go ahead with a vaccine mandate for all truckers crossing the U.S.-Canadian border starting Saturday, despite announcing at less than 24 hours prior that the policy had been changed and would only apply to American truckers. It was literally basically telling American truckers, show us your papers. Now it's basically telling its own people, Show us your fucking papers. According to the federal government, they have not flip-flopped on this issue. Of course not. But rather, Wednesday's announcement that the policy will no longer be going into effect was provided in error. Yes, of course, error. As Canada Border Services Agency spokeswoman Rebecca Purdy, who made the announcement, had, quote, incomplete information. Since November 19th, the initial announcement of the discriminatory policy, we've been consistent with all our meetings and stakeholders and all our interviews with the public. Transport Minister Omar Agbra told CBC News, yes, the state-run news network, decision to go ahead with the mandate comes despite trade associations with both American and Canadian side of the border warning that the policy could severely impact because, like I just said earlier, already strained supply chains. Quote, the government of Canada's decision to mandate the COOF vaccine for domestic federally regulated workers, in the trucking industry, including many truck drivers who have been delivering products to Canadians throughout the pandemic, would put even a bigger strain on an already beleaguered supply chain, wrote Canada Trucking Alliance last year when the mandate was brought forward, while they estimated more than 20,000 Canadian drivers would decide to leave Canada-U.S. trucking market if the Canadian government follows through with its planned cross-border vaccination policy. Of particular concern is the timing of the policy slated to go into effect this Saturday, of course, this past Saturday, January 15th, as Canada is particularly dependent on cross-border truckers for essentially goods such as food during the nation's cold and agriculturally limited winters. Despite the government's insistence on persecuting the unvaxxed, yes, those dirty unvaxxed, not just dirty Americans, but dirty Canadians as well, the COVID vaccine trials have never produced evidence that the vaccines stop infection or transmission. Efficacy rates, anyone? They do not claim to reduce hospitalization, but the measurement of success in preventing severe symptoms of COVID. Moreover, there's strong evidence that the, quote, vaccinated are just as likely to carry and transmit the virus as the vaccinated. Yes, that's been proven to be fact. Now, I'm going to jump from that to this. This comes out of the Daily Mail, UK. American truckers joined Canada's Freedom Convoy, yes, a Freedom Convoy, protesting vaccine mandates as rigs stretch for 45 miles. Trudeau plays it down and calls protesters a small fringe minority. Of course he did. A convoy of truckers in Canada protesting vaccine mandates for trucker drivers crossing the U.S.-Canadian border is 45 miles long and descending on Ottawa. With 50,000 truckers, wow, driving from Vancouver, the Freedom Convoy 2022 is demanding that the government abolish the vaccine passports. On January 15th, proof of vaccination will be required for truckers, of course, as I just read, crossing into the U.S., but as many as 32,000, or about 20%, are not vaxxed. Prime Minister Justine Trudeau calls the huge group a small fringe minority. Quote, we know the way through this is to get everyone vaccinated. The overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that, he said. Truckers left from British Columbia on Sunday will be met in the nation's capital on Saturday by other protesters driving from east and south of the country. It's 70 kilometers long. Benjamin Ditcher, a spokesman for the Freedom Convoy 2022, told the Toronto Sun, referring to the convoy after it passed Calgary heading west on Wednesday. I've seen the footage from an airplane. It's impressive. Canadian Trucker magazine publisher Dave McKenzie, who's working long-haul trucker, told West Standard Online that some of the U.S. truckers driving from North Dakota to Portal, Saskatchewan, were where they intended to cross the border and join the group. The Canadian federal government instituted vaccine mandates for cross-border truckers throughout the country, but as many as 32,000, 20% of the 160,000 Canadian American cross-border truck drivers may be taking off. See, I just want to make sure that's accurate. Yes, 160,000 Canadian American cross-trucker drivers may be taken off the roads due to the mandate, the Canadian Trucking Alliance estimates. Prime Minister Trudeau has characterized the protesters as a, quote, small fringe minority who are on their way to Ottawa, who are holding unacceptable views.
It's important to underline that close to 90% of truckers in this country are vaccinated, like close to 90% of Canadians. Over the past many months and years now, Canadians have stepped up to protect each other, to protect our frontline workers, to protect our elders, to protect our young people, to protect people like truckers who are putting food on our grocery store shelves. Canadians have stepped up to do the right thing to protect the freedoms and the rights of Canadians to get back to the things we love to do. We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
Like I said in the beginning of this, Justin Trudeau has been a clown, an utter ass clown as Canadian Prime Minister. He's been a joke. His policies have been abysmal. Now, regarding this, when you're talking about 160,000 truck drivers, 32,000 of Canadians drivers, 20% unvaxxed. I've seen the video. It is, yeah, to say it's impressive is an understatement. It's a shame that we don't have that here in our major cities when it comes to Draconian VAX mandates. Yes, the Supreme Court struck it down, but regardless, it was done on political reasons, not because of moral reasons. But with Canada, I tip my hat to the Canadian convoy. Lock arms with our brothers and sisters in Canada, and God bless you guys. God bless you guys. I'll tell you right now, things like this. You have the constant protests that are going on in Europe right now. That gives me hope. When you have people standing up in Australia because of the bullshit that's going on over there. I mean, wow. I mean, talk about draconian. Good gosh. Fascism at its best, anyone? You have people standing up over there as well. I tip my hat to you guys as well. God bless you all. And keep fighting. Keep fighting. And with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.